I look at something like this guy, it says, what do you know about the diagonals of square ABCD? Okay, and so really what we have to do here is we have to think about all the properties that we just came up with. Okay, so once again, a square is still a parallelogram. That's how it's defined. It's defined as a parallelogram, which means the diagonals are going to bisect each other. So I know that the diagonals will bisect one another. Okay, and I know that because the square is a parallelogram, and that's properties of parallelograms. Okay, but then in addition to that, I also know that a square is a special parallelogram. It's a parallelogram that has 4 congruent sides. And really, that's the definition of a rhombus. So a square also has the same stuff as a rhombus, which means when I think about the diagonals of a square, so because it's a parallelogram, diagonals bisect each other. But because it's also a rhombus in a sense, well, that means that the diagonals are going to be perpendicular. And they bisect the opposite angles. And again, that's because the square is also a rhombus. So the square is special because, yeah, it's a parallelogram, but it also has the definition of rhombus, so it gets all the properties of the rhombus. But remember, the square also has 4 right angles, which is the definition of a rectangle. So it gets all the properties for rectangles, which means for a square, the diagonals are also congruent. And so when you think about the square, really it's just a rhombus and a rectangle all together. So the square is everything. The square is a parallelogram. The square is a rhombus. The square is a rectangle. It gets all of the properties because it has all of the pieces of all of their definitions. Okay?